The history of the world is the history of the warfare between secret societies. Ishmael Reed, Mumbo Jumbo. It was the year when they finally immanentized the eschaton. On April the 1st, the world's great powers came closer to nuclear war than ever before, all because of an obscure island named Fernando Po. By the time international affairs returned to their normal Cold War level, some wits were calling it the most tasteless April Fool's joke in history. I happen to know all the details about what happened, but I have no idea how to recount them in a manner that will make sense to most readers. For instance, I'm not even sure who I am, and my embarrassment on that matter makes me wonder if you will believe anything I reveal. Worse yet, I am at the moment very conscious of a squirrel in Central Park, just off 68th Street in New York City, that is leaping from one tree to another. And I think that happens on the night of April the 23rd, or is it the morning of April the 24th? But fitting the squirrel together with Fernando Po is, for the present, beyond my powers. I beg your tolerance. There is nothing I can do to make things any easier for any of us, and you will have to accept being addressed by a disembodied voice, just as I accept the compulsion to speak out, even though I am painfully aware that I am talking to an invisible, perhaps non-existent audience. Wise men have regarded the earth as a tragedy, a farce, even an illusionist's trick. But all, if they are truly wise and not merely intellectual rapists, recognize that it is certainly some kind of stage in which we all play roles, most of us being very poorly coached and totally unrehearsed before the curtain rises. Is it too much if I ask tentatively that we agree to look upon it as a circus? A touring carnival wandering about the sun for a record season of 4 billion years and producing new monsters and miracles, hoaxes and bloody mishaps, wonders and blunders, but never quite entertaining the customers well enough to prevent them from leaving one by one and returning to their homes for a long and bored winter's sleep under the dust. Then say, for a while at least, that I have found an identity as ringmaster. But that crown sits uneasily on my head, if I have a head. And I must warn you that the troupe is small for a universe this size, and many of us have to double or triple our stints. So you can expect me back in many other guises. Indeed, do many things come to pass? The scene of the blast was one of those old office buildings with Gothic and gingerbread styling all over the lobby floor. In the dim light of the hour, it reminded me of the shadowy atmosphere of Charlie Chan in the Wax Museum. And a smell hit my nostrils as soon as I walked in. A patrolman, lounging inside the door, snapped to attention when he recognized me.
"Took out the 17th floor and part of the 18th,
he said.
"Also a pet shop here on the ground level. Some freak of dynamics. Nothing else is damaged down here, but every fish tank went. That's the smell."
Barney Muldoon, an old friend with the look and mannerisms of a Hollywood cop, appeared out of the shadows. A tough man, and nowhere as dumb as he liked to pretend, which is why he was head of the bomb squad.
"Your baby, Barney?"
I asked casually.
"Looks that way. Nobody killed. The call went out to you because a clothier's dummy was burned on the 18th floor and the first car here thought it was a human body."
Wait. George Dawn is screaming. Saul's face showed no reaction to the answer. But poker players at the Fraternal Order of Police had long ago given up trying to read that inscrutable Talmudic countenance. As Barney Muldoon, I knew how I would feel if I had the chance to drop this case on another department and hurry home to a beautiful bride like Rebecca Goodman. I smiled down at Saul. His height would keep him from appointment to the force now, but the rules were different when he was young. And I added quietly,
There might be something in it for you, though.
The fedora darked as Saul took out his pipe and started to fill it. All he said was,
Oh? Right now,
I went on,
we're just notifying missing persons. But if what I'm afraid of is right, it'll end up on your desk after all.
He struck a match and started puffing.
Somebody missing at this hour. Might be found among the living in the morning,
he said between drags. The match went out, and shadows moved where nobody stirred.
And he might not, in this case,
Muldoon said.
He's been gone 3 days now. An Irishman your size can't be any more subtle than an elephant,
Saul said wearily.
Stop tantalizing me. What do you got? The office that was hit,
Muldoon explained, obviously happy to share the misery,
was a magazine called Confrontation. It's a kind of left of center, so this was probably a right-wing job and not a left-wing one. But the interesting thing is, we couldn't reach the editor, Joseph Malik, at his home. And when we called one of the associate editors, what do you think he told us? Malik disappeared 3 days ago. His landlord confirms it. He's been trying to get a hold of Malik himself because there's a no-pets rule there, and the other tenants are complaining about his dogs. So, if a man drops out of sight, and then his office gets bombed, I kind of think the matter might come to the attention of the homicide department eventually, don't you?
Saul grunted.
Might and might not,
he said.
I'm going home. I'll check with missing persons in the morning, see what they got.
The patrolman spoke up.
You know what bothers me most about this? The Egyptian mouth breeders.
The what?
Saul asked.
That pet shop.
The patrolman explained, pointing to the other end of the lobby.
I looked over the damage, and they had one of the best collections of rare tropical fish in New York City. Even Egyptian mouth breeders.
He noticed the expressions on the faces of the two detectives and added lamely,
If you don't collect fish, you wouldn't understand. But believe me, an Egyptian mouth breeder is pretty hard to get these days. And they're all dead in there.
Mouth breeder?
Muldoon asked incredulously.
Yeah, you see, they keep their young in their mouths for a couple of days after birth, and they never swallow them. That's one of the great things about collecting fish. You get to appreciate the wonders of nature.
Muldoon and Saul looked at each other.
It's inspiring,
Muldoon said finally,
to have so many college graduates on the force these days.
The elevator door opened, and Dan Pricefixer, a red-headed young detective on Muldoon's staff, emerged carrying a metal box.
I think this is important, Barney.
He began immediately with just a nod to Saul.
Damned important. I found it in the rubble, and had been partly blown open, so I looked inside. And?
Muldoon prompted.
It's the freakiest bunch of inter-office memos I ever set eyes on. Weird as tits on a bishop.
This is going to be a long night, Saul thought suddenly, with a sinking feeling. A long night and a heavy case.
Want a peek?
Muldoon asked him maliciously.
You better find a place to sit down.
Pricefixer volunteered.
It'll take you a while to go through them. Let's use the cafeteria,
Saul suggested.